everyone. Welcome back to our podcast, Very Factual. We're your hosts, Kayla.
And Isabella, and we're finally back after 2 weeks. We hope everyone had a good break. And this weekend, we actually had some FA Cup action, and the biggest game out of all the FA Cup games was Arsenal versus Liverpool.
Yeah, so Liverpool took home a 2-0 win against Arsenal on Sunday. The first half stayed quiet with both teams pressuring the net. It wasn't until Liverpool gained the lead from an own goal by Arsenal's Kivior in the 80th minute. Arsenal kept pressuring for a goal to at least tie the game, but they sadly didn't succeed. In 5 minutes added time, just before the ref called the game, Diaz scored for Liverpool, making the final score 2-0. Honestly, I knew Liverpool would probably win this game because of how they've been doing recently compared to Arsenal, but I expected like at least out of Arsenal. But to be fair, like looking at the stats, it was kind of even like possession wise and everything. But Arsenal did have the lead in stats and everything. So I'm kind of surprised that Liverpool won.
Yeah, I thought actually it would finish 0-0 just because I feel like I didn't see anything. Like, I feel like both sides were very even. Like, they were at each other right from the
Hmm.
start. And then basically the win came from the own goal because I feel like if that didn't happen, then they would still be at each other. Like Arsenal, they did start off stronger. They had like amazing chances in the first 10 minutes, and that caused Liverpool to like sit back more, and Arsenal kept coming at them. And Liverpool also didn't have Salah in this game, and they had no Virgil van Dijk. And
Hmm.
okay, even though Arsenal had chances, you can see that they're lacking like that striker, the one that could score those crucial goals. Because Jesus was injured, he got injured before the game, so Havertz played through the middle, which I thought that was new. I didn't see that yet. But the
Hmm.
thing is, like, why don't you play Eddie Nketiah? Like he's on your bench, and I am such like a big fan of his. Just put him through the middle and give him games and give him time, and maybe he can become that. He just has to get used to that position.
No, yeah, I agree. Field, not on the bench, but he's not giving him those opportunities that he needs. And they don't have a striker right now. Well, like they do, but they don't really have like that like one that can score and finish all those
Mm-hmm.
shots. And they kind of need that.
Yeah, the second half then came around, and you know there was more chances, but then Kivior scored the own goal, which I think it set Arsenal back, and that was really
Hmm.
unexpected. I don't think anyone expected that. Like you said, Arsenal did have an edge more, and they probably should have won it statistically. Like if you look at the stats, but um, I feel like this loss is gonna hurt them because they were so close and they've lost like their last 3 games already. So like they could have kept it 0-0. And they could, because in FA Cup, if you tie, you have to replay the game. They could have kept it 0-0, and then they could have caused a replay, and maybe they would have had a better chance. And I think that own goal really gave Liverpool confidence and caused Arsenal to like fold a little bit. And then that caused Luis Diaz to score right at the end.
I agree completely. Arsenal, you definitely saw after the goal that like yes, they were pressuring the net to at least tie it and have that like,
Mm-hmm.
restart game, but they couldn't finish those shots and then they didn't get the goal and then it was like, hey, we're already winning. How about we get an actual goal, like seal the win?
Yeah, and now that's one less big six team, if you could say, in the
Hmm.
FA Cup, which opens the door for other teams like City, Liverpool, Chelsea, even Spurs. So I feel like once you narrow it down, we'll get to see who can actually win the whole tournament because, we had like 5 of the big 6 teams, and um I feel like it was kind of harder to tell, but now as we get to narrow it down more and more, we'll get to see like that real competition start to come in.
I agree.
Chelsea thrashed Preston 4-0 with a win on Saturday. It took Chelsea about an hour to break the deadlock, but once they did, the goals came quick and fast. Broya, Thiago Silva, Raheem Sterling all scored in the time frame of 11 minutes. And just to make sure of the win, Enzo Fernandez gave Chelsea their fourth, sealing their place in the next round of the FA Cup. The first half it was probably the most boring thing I've ever seen, and it was quite sad that they couldn't get anything done because it is Preston. They are a lower level team, but it wasn't surprising, to be honest, because okay, I saw that nothing was happening and I wasn't surprised because this is like typical Chelsea this season. But when I saw those goals come in the second half, I was so happy. Like it shows deep down that we can actually score.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when I was first half of this game, but, when they weren't winning, I was like, "Yeah, this is normal." I'll be surprised if Chelsea gets, like, 1 or 2 goals because they were pushing, but, like,
Mhm.
against Preston, they couldn't get any goals in the first half. It was pretty shocking, but then, like you said, they got 3 goals in the span of 11 minutes,
Mhm.
and Chelsea, I'm actually looking at the stats right now, Chelsea had 24 shots and Preston only had 4. So, I mean, it was kind of expected for Chelsea to win. It went as planned, but, like, according to how Chelsea has been playing, like, recently, I wasn't really expecting a 4-0 win.
Yeah. Like you said, it wasn't expected when they kind of had to win it because it was Preston. And we actually got to see a lot of our players kind of shine in this game. Like we got to see a lot of Broya, and I think he just needs to grow into the side because he could be a good striker for us, like a good backup. I don't think he could be the main guy like an Erling Haaland because we've seen Nico Jackson. He's at AFCON right now, African Cup of Nations tournament, and I'm kind of glad because I don't really like him as a player, and we know he's not the answer. This game showed that we need like a big striker. Like we're linked to Osimhen from Napoli, and it also showed that we need more experienced players because this team is so young and we need some leaders. I mean, we have Thiago Silva, Raheem Sterling, but it's just everyone's doing their own thing, and we need kind of like those 30-year-olds to kind of be in our side to guide the team.
I agree. There are those, like, older players, like you said, Silva and Sterling, good right
Mm-hmm.
now, but they need to become great like they are too, and that kinda, like, process needs to continue happening in Chelsea. They don't really have those who can really teach, I wanna say.
Mm-hmm. And the thing about Chelsea is that no big name player is going to come to us anymore because
Mhm.
of our performances, because we're not fighting for Premier League, because we're not in the Champions League, and we really have nothing to play for. So I think that's a problem that we need to get back to the level that we were. But like this game, it's a big scoreline, but it is Preston. It was expected. I'm happy we definitely have a chance of going far in the FA Cup, and hopefully we can get something out of it. And the Carabao Cup, we've been doing good in those, and maybe we could win one of those two tournaments, and maybe we'll get some players coming to us soon.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, names and stuff, how they're not really coming to Chelsea, you're not gonna get those players. I feel
Mm-hmm.
just pushed a little even though they have nothing to really, like, push for because 'cause they're not in the Champions League,
Yeah.
they're not really trying in the Premier League anymore. I feel like if they just pushed a little bit more and show that they were at least trying, those big name players would maybe want to come and join Chelsea, be like, "Hey, at least they're trying." That, like, and
Yes.
Chelsea would get the more,
Manchester City put up a promising performance against Huddersfield, winning 5-0 with goals coming twice from Phil Foden, Julian Alvarez, Oscar Bob, and Jeremy Doku. We couldn't expect anything different. Huddersfield are 21st in the championship. City controlled the game from start to end. They had chances straight from the start, and it was just an expected result.
I mean, you couldn't expect it, that they would win. I was expecting, like a 3-0 to, like, 6-0
Mhm.
win between that range, and that's what they gave. I mean, they had, what, a total of 18 shots, and Huddersfield only had, like, 2, I think. Like, you just knew since Huddersfield you can just tell by the name that we're not gonna be that much of a challenge against
Yes.
Manchester City. And they've been slacking a little bit, they've been on and off, they're starting to kind of go back to their normal self, but still, you know win.
Yeah, City started a couple of their like secondary players, I guess you could say,
Mhm.
and it shows how much depth they have. Like no one lacked in this game. They literally dominated Huddersfield, and I think the biggest part of this game is when Kevin De Bruyne came on for the first time in 5 months. He's back from his injury, and he assisted Jeremy Doku's goal, and he he's already ahead of Anthony from Man United's assist tally, which is so funny. And I'm just so happy to see him back because he's one of City's more crucial players. Like, he links up with Haaland really well, and I predict that this is where City go on a run. The Premier League aren't ready for what they're about to see. Uh, Kevin De Bruyne is back, a City squad at their full strength, and they can even score without Haaland now. And I just think they're going to win the title from here. Like, I think Arsenal, they're starting to drop off. I think Liverpool will give kind of City a run for their money, but they're going to finish second.
I agree. Like you said, Kevin to be definitely a key player here, and the fact that they don't they need score the goal. That was my main concern. That, like, if Haaland gets injured or he can't play, what are they gonna do? But they show that they can still play without him. So I feel like you said, City got to go on like a run of winning streak or whatever. Because judging by this game, Huddersfield, I feel like they're gonna win. A late win for Spurs on Friday against Burnley with a 1-0 win, Porro scoring the only goal of the match in the 78th minute. The first half was pretty even. Both teams had opportunities, but Spurs did have a bit of an edge. When the second half rolled around, Spurs came out stronger and Burnley blocked a few of the shots until Porro broke the tie and scored. Overall, Spurs did play the match better. I was expecting a better outcome from them considering the stats of the match and how the head-to-head record between Spurs and Burnley, but also you have to take into consideration how Spurs has been kind of slacking recently. So this game was like pretty predictable considering the score and how it is against Burnley, but I mean, I expected a little bit more out of Spurs.
I think, first of all, we have to talk about the Pedro Porro goal. He scored an
Uh-huh.
incredible goal. It was such
It
a
really
clean
was.
strike. And the thing, I watched it back a couple times, and it looks like no one expected it. Like, no one expected him to shoot from where he was. The goalkeeper wasn't expecting it. No one was pressing him. And it was just incredible. It came from a Burnley turnover, but it was the goal that they needed. And without that, they would have had to replay Burnley probably. It wasn't an easy win, but they got it in the end. It wasn't their best game. They are missing a few players. Like, Son is at the Asian Cup right now, which is a really big miss because he has stepped up for Harry Kane, and it's clear that they're lacking a goal scorer, and Son has been that. Like, Richarlison, not a fan of him at all. I don't think he's a good striker at all. And that's something that I think they're going to struggle with the most. It wasn't a great game. Burnley aren't a great side. But to be honest, Burnley kind of made it hard for Spurs.
Yeah, I'll agree. I mean, Burnley, I expected a little less from them going to this game, but they probably saw Spurs and they were like, okay, well, they've been like a little bit slacking recently, so we'll give it our all. And honestly, if it wasn't for that like shot from the distance that I don't think anyone was expecting, I feel like they would have had to replay the game, and who knows what would have.
Teams the second time around, especially in the Premier League, can kind of figure out how Spurs play now, especially because of their injuries. Because in the beginning of the season, no one knew how they would play under Postecoglou and how good they would be. But now they kind of see where Spurs are strong and where they are kind of vulnerable. But I'm really excited to see how Spurs continue to fare the rest of the season, especially with some of the injuries they have and missing Son. And hopefully they could get something out of the Premier League and maybe even one of the cup tournaments.
I agree. I mean, missing Son sure is like a setback for them, but they
Mm-hmm.
kind of proved in this game that they still can play without him. Sure, it's a bit of a struggle, but they still can, and they can get those goals if they absolutely needed to.
The January transfer window has officially opened. It's been open for about a week now, and there have been some pretty big rumored deals going on. There's been some links, and the biggest deal that looks to be completed is Jadon Sancho going back to Borussia Dortmund. A deal was agreed in place on Friday, and it's going to be a loan for the rest of the season. Dortmund are expected to pay, I've seen a rumored £300 million loan fee. I'm not sure if that's completely accurate because it's not They didn't confirm it yet, and Dortmund are also going to pay a percentage of his wages. Jadon Sancho right now is being paid around $315,000 a week, and all this guy is doing right now is sitting home playing FIFA. Can I do that?
That's like, I want that job, thank
No,
you.
for real. Like, he hasn't played since like August, and he's still paying that kind of money. I think it's going to be a good move for him. I hopefully he can discover his form at a club and a manager that he played under really well. Like Borussia Dortmund fans love him. He was great for them. United were looking to actually get like a permanent solution, but the loan was the best they could get. And to be honest, they just need to really get rid of him. Like they kind of need not a fresh slate because he hasn't been good like his whole time he was at United. You just Ten Hag needs to get rid of some of his problems.
Yeah, that's true, and honestly, for Sancho, I think it's better for him to go back to where he started,
Mhm.
regain respect from like, I know we were on his side at first with that whole situation that happened,
Yeah.
but also it was pretty disrespectful he didn't apologize, and maybe it can bring back his old form because his form did kind of go back down when he joined United, but
Mhm.
honestly, overall, I'm happy he's going back to Dortmund because it looks like he it looks like a step down, but it's good for his overall career if he goes back for a little bit.
Yeah, he's only 23 too, and he
Mhm.
like it's crazy to think that cuz he has a lot of time. Like his career just started. Like he needs to get back to form and revive his career because we're talking about him like his career is about to end. And it's literally just started. Like he's had an absolute nightmare at United. He only scored 12 goals and had 6 assists in 82 games, and he's not the player United wanted for 73 million pounds. Like that is probably one of the biggest wastes of money I've ever seen.
He did not perform at all for United, and I'm kind of disappointed because there was a time where he was kind of good, there was, like, a little
Mhm.
peak, but then it just all went downhill again, he wasn't worth the money that United spent and the disrespect that United got from him.
Yeah, United are actually looking at like some replacements to bring into him, and the two biggest ones I've seen is Michael Elise from Crystal Palace, which I seriously don't think is going to happen because he just signed a new contract in the
Mhm.
summer because Chelsea were linked to him. We were about to get him, but he signed the contract. Kind of sad about that, but okay, whatever. And then you guys are also linked to Federico Chiesa from Juventus. I just these are like I don't see these happening.
I don't
I don't
either.
it's just I don't see how better I guess you could say players like this will fit into a side that is really struggling, and I don't think they would want to go there either.
Yeah, I agree, I mean, they
Mhm.
they win a game, they lose it, it's kind of well, and as a player, if I was to a team, a club, like, up and down,
Yeah, it just these signings or the people they're linked to at least, it doesn't seem realistic to me. Like I feel like United, they set transfer targets, but they never get their top ones. Like they were linked to Declan Rice. They didn't get him. They were linked to Harry Kane. They didn't get him. And you see what kind of players Declan Rice and Harry Kane are at their new clubs. And United just have been having their own problems. And I don't think Sancho's like he isn't the only problem they have. Like they want United want to get out of this. Um and they also have Martial also is linked with a move out, which is something that has needed to happen for like the
Mhm.
past 4 years because we've said he's not
Yup.
a player for Manchester United. So I think I've seen the Martial one is gonna be like done in the summer or something. Like it's more realistic to happen in the summer. But I'm happy that, Sancho can get a move out and maybe, have some resurgence. But the thing is, he hasn't played since August, and the
Yeah.
Bundesliga, it is kind of fast. So he has to get back to that game speed, which I think is going to be probably one of the toughest parts.
I agree, I mean, he has that, but it's just
Hmm.
the fact that get back to where it was.
Yeah, and then Arsenal are also linked. with some players. We talked about this a little earlier about their little striker problem. They're looking to kind of rescue themselves. They're trying to bring in an additional striker to help them in the title race. Some of the players I've seen linked were Ivan Toney, Victor Boniface from Bayer Leverkusen, Vlahovic from Juventus, Osimhen, but he's more linked to Chelsea. Kind of glad. They're all kind of Arsenal's targets, but Ivan Toney's kind of like that main one. So Brentford are looking to hold Ivan Toney. They don't want to get rid of him. Their asking price for him is £100 million, and they've already spent that much on Declan Rice, which is, I don't think they need to go all out on that. And Brentford made it clear that Toney won't be leaving in January. And I think Brentford need him more than ever because Brian Mbeumo also got injured, and you're going to have Ivan Toney coming back, and he could probably help Brentford out a bit, so I don't see why they would let him go.
Arsenal, which I don't know why, like the but
I hope that they really could use a striker. Like I said, Arteta does not know if they would sign someone.
Yeah, like their attackers are currently really out of form, and I think we've seen that kind of this season more. I feel like Martinelli is not really what he used to be. Like he hasn't really done anything this season. I feel like I haven't seen him all season. Saka, I feel like he's overplayed, and I think that's very clear. Jesus is not a prominent goal scorer. He even said that he's not like a 50 goal a season striker himself. And I have said this a million times, but I'm still in Nketiah's camp. Like I think if you give him enough games and enough time, I think he will grow into the spot and he could help them out potentially. I just don't know why Arteta won't do it.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Saka is overplayed. I'm a huge fan of him, but he's just you can tell he's kind of burning out a little bit. He's not his same self anymore because he's overplayed, and there's so many more expectations now that if he does one mistake, it's gonna everyone's just gonna attack him. But I agree with you with the whole Nketiah thing. Like I feel like if Arsenal played him a little bit, he would have that stance to become the striker that he can be.
And then my club, Chelsea, another London club, we are linked with even more players. We also have Ivan Toney and Victor Osimhen on our kind of striker shortlist because we've seen that we can't really score goals. And we also look to be getting some players out, which I think is very good. It looks like we'll be sending Ian Maatsen out on loan to Dortmund as well. I think it's good for him because he could get more game time. I just don't think he's like a big Chelsea player. But this is the one that I think everyone is talking about. Conor Gallagher linked with a move out to Spurs to help our dumb financial fair play regulation. This is probably one of the worst decisions because he's been so crucial to us.
I mean, like first of all, he's been so crucial for Chelsea, and also he won't fit in with Spurs in the type of style that they play. I don't really see him playing there. And also Gallagher himself said that he's keen on staying at Chelsea if
Yeah.
he can, and Pochettino said they're happy with him for now. So honestly, I hope he stays at Chelsea because he looks like he belongs there for now. He looks like he's fitting in. There's no reason to make a move when he's happy there and Pochettino's happy.
I want to know who came up with this because this is probably one of the dumbest things I've seen. Okay, he's been one of our best players. He has captained our side many times. There are so many other useless players we could sell. It's like baffling to me. He started 22 out of the last 23 games. He's literally played all of them. I don't know why. It's just I want him to stay. He's probably one of the first names on the team sheet. It's just who made this decision? I want to know.
No, I mean Spurs, I honestly don't even know why they have their eye on him too because they could use another player, but he doesn't fit in with the style of play that they have. I feel like he'll just get lost, kind of how Sancho did at United. I feel like that's what'll happen to Gallagher at
Yeah.
Spurs. He'll just get kind of lost. So I feel like he belongs at Chelsea under Pochettino, and there's no reason he should leave because, like you said, he's like first on the list.
And then speaking of Spurs, on the other hand, they are also bringing in and getting rid of some players. Eric Dyer, that name has not been mentioned in forever. He is so forgotten at Spurs. He is linked with a move to Bayern Munich. I am not sure why they want him. He would not be a starter there. It'd be the same like it is at Spurs. Like it's a big club. Eric Dyer has not done anything to show that he deserves to go there, and it's probably one of the most shocking links I've seen.
Honestly, yeah, I don't know why. First of all, I don't know why Bayern's, like you said, not
Yeah.
involved, but interested in
Mhm.
Eric. But also, I think if he's gonna move to Bayern, what would he do there? Bayern has a pretty
Exactly.
solid starting lineup, and he's already sitting on the bench for Spurs, who does not have that like solid lineup, but they
Mhm.
have like a pretty good one. So I don't really know what benefit it's gonna be for him if he goes to Bayern.
Yeah, and he's so slow. He's one of the
Mhm.
slowest defenders I've ever seen. He cannot run. He did when Jose Mourinho was at Spurs and Antonio Conte, he did, he played under them, but he wasn't great. And Postecoglou came along and Postecoglou doesn't have him in his plans, and it's just why why do you want him, Bayern Munich? Like, what is that exact reason? Just to have someone just in case? But then again, you could go get like one of your academy players to do that or something, or get even a better defender than Eric Dyer. Like, what has he done?
I don't even know. I feel like if Bayern needs that just in case player, they should not get a defender that, first of all, doesn't even play for the club that he's at right now, and also is
Yeah.
slow and does not have that pace that he needs to be a defender. Like, if the ball goes past him, he's not gonna be able to sprint past one of the offense and get it.
Yes. And then speaking of more German teams and players, Timo Werner is also looking to go to Spurs on a loan from Leipzig. This came out Saturday morning, I believe, and I was quite shocked. He hasn't been incredible since he went back to Leipzig from Chelsea. He doesn't play much. He scored just twice in 14 appearances and kind of fell out as a favor. And I think Chelsea kind of have a reputation for quote like ruining players almost. I
Mhm.
don't want to say that exactly, but I just feel like once he played for Chelsea, he was not that same player from his 2019-2020 season that he had with Leipzig. And this is also one I'm kind of shocked about. I've heard some people say positive things, but it's like I don't think anyone sees this going well.
Honestly, I have no idea because I feel like Chelsea kind of, like, ruined him a little bit,
Mhm.
but honestly, I feel like Spurs could use this transfer. They've been lacking recently in the attacking positions, and Timo Werner, he's very versatile when it comes to that because he can play left, right, and middle, and to be fair, Spurs does have, like, Richarlison, who he's, like, okay, and Son, but he's not there right now, and a few other attackers that Werner will have to, fight with to secure a spot, but
Mhm.
Werner is great, so I feel like this transfer will be a good transfer for him if he can get back to that form before Chelsea.
I get what you're saying. I feel it's cuz Spurs kind of need some depth
Mhm,
in that because Son's not there for now. He's in a competition. Richarlison, we've said not the answer. Uh, Brennan Johnson is another forward player that they have. He's also not really going to get you the goals they needed. I just I when we saw Timo Werner at Chelsea, he also didn't get goals. So it's just for me, I don't know if he could do the same for Spurs. Like I don't think he will kind of help them out in the way some people are talking about because I feel like Chelsea ruined him. You know what I mean?
mhm.
And I think that's the biggest problem. Like I think uh Spurs are going to get him, but then he's literally not going to do anything.
I feel like Spurs is a very unique style of play, like I've mentioned
Mhm.
before, and it's very much, if you either work with it or you don't. So I feel like Timo Werner, I don't know how he'll work with them, but if he does fit in with that style of play, he'll do great, and if he doesn't, then he's just gonna slack off and it won't be worth the transfer money.
I mean, it's going to be a loan anyway, so if it doesn't work out, then, he'll go back to Leipzig. But that's probably one I'm really curious about.
Mhm.
I don't I've seen that it's really close to happening, but like I said again, it's just why? Almost it's like you can maybe go for someone a little bit better, someone who's been in some form, but who knows? Maybe Postecoglou has plans with this guy like Arteta had with Havertz. You never know.
You never know.
Yeah, and that is all that we have for today. And the next week, the Premier League is finally back, and we'll see if any of these transfers happened next week.
Yes, so we'll see you guys next week. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Please don't forget to follow our Instagram and YouTube at Very Factual Podcast.